Welcome, everyone, to the Coin Bureau podcast. My name is Guy, and your name?
Mad Mike Mooch.
Welcome.
How are you
doing? Yeah, we overlap. You go
Jinx.
first.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited for today's pod, as per.
As always.
Yeah.
This week, I want to do a bit of classification for what I believe is our 19th episode.
No, 19.
19th episode. And in this, I want to do another two-parter because I want to get, there's quite a lot of detail to cover here. So basically, I want to look at the different categories of cryptocurrency because there are over 18,000 cryptocurrencies in existence. We've spent sort of quite a lot of the last few episodes just talking about two of them.
Yeah.
Now, I guess people might be listening to this and thinking, okay, they're not going to spend sort of north of 2 episodes on every single one of them, are they?
No. So if we categorize them, then we can just go, okay, cool. This is one section, 4,000. This is one section, 1,500. And this is one section, Minge Coin.
Yeah, basically. That was part of the thinking. Because, yeah, there are so many projects, we can't possibly cover them all. We are going to cover individual projects in future episodes because some of them are
fascinating.
Some of them are really fascinating. Some of them are very key parts of the whole crypto ecosystem. Some of them really do merit their own episode. Others, maybe, we might be able to do an episode on a particular group of them or whatever. But I think really the only ones that sort of merit, 2+ part episodes are Bitcoin and Ethereum, which we've already covered. And yeah, I mean, we can't do a 3-part episode on Doge Bonk, for instance, which when I checked was number 1386.
Okay.
Yeah, which is quite high for something just called Doge Bonk. Anyhow, I don't think we're going to spend any more time on that. So, yeah, basically, cryptocurrencies fall into a number of different categories. And I think it's really useful to explore what these categories are, because I think that can aid our understanding of what particular cryptocurrencies can do or are designed to do, what their actual place in the whole cryptoverse is, if you like. So we're going to split this episode, as I said, into 2 parts. Firstly, today, I want to cover the different types of cryptocurrency coins.
Yep.
And then next week, we'll cover the different types of cryptocurrency tokens. Now, do you remember we have discussed this a couple of times before?
Bitcoin is a coin.
Yeah.
And then Ethereum is a coin.
Ethereum is a coin, yeah.
But then something like Dogecoin is off Ethereum?
Dogecoin is actually a coin itself, but you're on the right track. Yeah, basically a coin is a cryptocurrency that lives on its own blockchain.
Yes, and then tokens are ones off another blockchain.
Yeah, so tokens are cryptocurrencies that are built, hosted on another blockchain.
Yeah.
That's the sort of key difference. That's the easiest way to think about it. And yeah, coins are generally it's much more of an undertaking to build a cryptocurrency coin because it has to have its own blockchain. So it's a completely sort of standalone project, whereas a crypto token, as we found out in the episodes on Ethereum, can be built on another blockchain like Ethereum, for instance, fairly easily. And as I said, you only really need a bit of coding knowledge, and you can
Bretcoin.
Bretcoin
is a coin done by a New York comedian.
It's a token.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
a token.
But this is what can be quite confusing, and I want to sort of try and clear this up for people because so often it will be referred to as something coin, poo coin, minge coin, whatever it is. And it's important to understand that distinction. Just because it says coin in the title doesn't necessarily mean it is.
Just because it says fat-free doesn't mean it's good for you.
Yeah, I think that explains it beautifully. So Bretcoin is obviously a token built for a particular comedian.
Yeah, I think basically you're essentially investing in him and how well he does. And I don't know, I saw it on a podcast. He seemed like a funny guy.
Okay,
I lumped him.
cheeky ton.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Let's see. I'll look out for Bretcoin.
Not financial advice.
Not financial advice. My goodness. Yeah. Well done. So, okay. So we're going to cover coins in this episode, and then we're going to cover tokens next week. Now, this list of categories, it isn't exhaustive because kind of new types of cryptocurrency, token especially, are emerging as the sector develops. So we're not going to cover all of them in these 2 episodes because otherwise we will be getting a little bit exhaustive. But these are enough to be getting started with. And especially the ones that we're going to cover today, especially the early ones are sort of most of them are quite sort of large buckets, if you like. So quite a few cryptocurrency coins fall into the categories that we're going to look at today. And towards the end of the episode, we're going to look at some coins that actually are sort of generally, there are more tokens than coins in that particular category, and that will kind of bleed into the next episode. So believe it or not, Mike, quite a lot of thought has gone into structuring this. It isn't just a sort of,
Guy, I wouldn't expect anything else from you.
Okay.
If it was the reverse.
What, you mean you've thought this through?
If it was me, we'd just be kind of winging it, and it would be a lot of like on-air research being done.
Yeah, let me just have a look on Google. Yeah, I was right. Yeah,
Select course.
Yeah. Okay, so with that introduction out of the way, let us get into part 1. So, as I said, we've looked at the difference between a coin and a token. So let's look at the first category of coins, which is store of value coins.
Is this like
Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was actually going to say, the dollar one.
Oh no! So that's an interesting one. Yeah, that's not to be confused with stablecoins.
Stablecoins.
And actually, weirdly, here's another sort of instance where the name can be a bit misleading. Stablecoins are tokens.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, yeah.
I suppose because there is no blockchain really for it. It's kind of offered something.
Well, they run on other blockchains.
Yeah.
So they're representations of assets.
But I thought because it was like kind of a store of value, because a lot of people use them to buy other coins. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I suppose stable coins can be said in a way to be a store of value, in that you can hold you can insulate yourself from the natural volatility of crypto I think they fall into a slightly different category. I mean, they fall into their own category, and I think also as well they fall into the category a little bit that we're going to look at next. But I take your point. But anyhow, cryptos, these store of value coins, and really I'm talking pretty much about Bitcoin only. Bitcoin is pretty much the only one we need
to concern
ourselves with. Yeah, the gold standard. These store of value coins are designed to hold or increase their purchasing power over time. Now, this is an important that term purchasing power is an important phrase because it's different from price. And this is what a lot of people forget when, sometimes you mention Bitcoin as a store of value to some people, and they'll go, well, how can it possibly be a store of value when its price is so volatile? And certainly in the short term, that's a fair point. But purchasing power, as I said, is different from price. Regular fiat currencies, as we've talked about before, they lose around 2 to 3% of their purchasing power every year because governments keep printing more
money.
Of them.
Yeah,
and
it's probably going to go up from 2 to 3%. Really.
Yeah, I mean inflation at the moment, and this is the result. Inflation is just running hot at the moment, and this is we've talked about this in a previous episode when we talked about the fact that the crypto markets are taking such a hammering, and the global economy as a whole, because interest rates are going up in an attempt to try and tame this runaway inflation. So yeah, when inflation happens, when the money supply is inflated, your money doesn't go as far. It doesn't buy as much. So the pounds in our pockets today won't buy as much as they would have bought a year ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. So their purchasing power has decreased. Now, as I said, the principal store of value coin, the principal coin, cryptocurrency coin to preserve purchasing power is, of course, Bitcoin. And the reason it does this so well and will do so well over time is because it was designed with this 21 million coin limit.
Yeah.
So its purchasing power can't be inflated away. We can't just create more and more of them.
It's a finite amount.
Yeah. And this is why Bitcoin, or BTC, the coin that lives on the Bitcoin blockchain, this is why it's sometimes referred to as digital gold. So, yeah, this is what purchasing about. This is what store of value is all about, and that's what that phrase means when you hear it referred to. So, yeah, Bitcoin is the main store of value coin. Its purpose, very much the reason that Satoshi designed it was for a form of money that you couldn't just print more and more and more of it as you wanted. It retained its purchasing power, and that is why so many people are hodling, so many people are stacking sats at the moment, because they know that the pounds, the dollars, the euros, the yens, whatever it is in their pockets, is devaluing over time. It won't be as worth as much in a few years' time, whereas Bitcoin, we're pretty confident, will be. Now, as a bit of a side note, I should also say that Bitcoin was also designed to act as a payment network too, and it does kind of serve that function even now.
Well, with the Lightning stuff, apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more for big things. Where you can wait 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really function that well as a payment network because of those factors that we looked at in when we talked about Bitcoin specifically. The fact that it has this quite small block size, fairly long transaction times, only around 7 transactions per second, which is far too slow for a regular payments network. And yeah, so for this reason, people do transact with it, but it's generally functioning more and more these days as a store of value. People tend to hodl more than actually spend. And as you said, if the Lightning Network takes off, then we could see Bitcoin used more for payments. But until that point, it is more of a store of value. And I don't know. I think there's a sort of split in the Bitcoin community. I think some people are very, very keen for it to become this payments network, for it to completely replace fiat currencies, and other people see it more, see it more its potential as a way to protect your purchasing power. Protect the value of your money into the future. And as I said, there aren't really any other notable cryptocurrencies in this niche, but Bitcoin is, there ain't room for Bitcoin and anything else in this niche. So that is the first category of cryptocurrency coin. Let's now move on to the next, which is payment coins. Now, this one is a bit of a spin-off from the whole store of value sector, and there are a few coins in this. Some of the coins that I've put in this category could be a little controversial.
Is this one of these weird classifications, sort of like a platypus duck? Is it a mammal? It lays eggs? Is
it a mammal or is it a bird?
Yeah.
Yeah. What the heck? Yeah. You could perhaps have that. That could be
the anomaly. Some of these may be.
Yeah.
Reel them off. What are we talking?
Certainly some people will disagree with me. Well, I think the two main ones in this category are Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash. Mm-hmm. So LTC and BCH.
Is Litecoin off Ethereum?
No, Litecoin was copied. Litecoin's code was copied from Bitcoin's.
Okay.
So it's designed very much like Bitcoin. But do you remember when we talked about altcoins a few weeks ago now? We did talk about Litecoin because it's one of the earliest altcoins. It was designed as a sort of lighter Bitcoin. Yeah. So Litecoin blocks are produced more frequently, and it generally works better for payment.
Is it still top 10?
Litecoin, no, it's still. I think it's sort of around the top 20. It might just be sort of below. Definitely top 30. I think. Yeah. So it's still around, and it's still. I mean, again, when
is XRP?
Yeah, we're going to come to XRP in a minute. The thing about Litecoin is that it does kind of function as a payment coin. And again, I've talked about this before, but when you see companies sort of adopting crypto so often, as a form of payment, and PayPal is a good example, you so often, it's usually Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then more often than not, Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash. And of course, we remember Bitcoin Cash. This was the hard fork of Bitcoin, the whole fork up, exactly. And when they were having this huge argument over block size, and Bitcoin Cash, kind of as the name suggests, is designed to function a bit more like Cash, so it has bigger blocks, faster transaction times. So those two are, I would say, the main payment coins, the main coins in this particular niche. And as you flagged up before, and this is something that I noted down, don't get these confused with stablecoins, which we will talk about in the next episode. So as I said, both of these, both Litecoin and Bitcoin Bitcoin Cash are based very much on Bitcoin's original code, but with some adjustments to make them basically faster and more sort of payment friendly, if you like. Another one that I'd like to include in this niche is Dash. Again, which we talked about in the altcoin one. And Dash, well, as the name suggests, it was designed to act like digital cash. So I think Dash is still actually quite popular for crypto payments in certain parts of the world. I think Dash is quite...
Not to be confused with DigiCash.
Not to be confused with your favourite DigiCash.
I like that one.
I wonder if we can get you sponsored by DigiCash. I mean, I'll write to David Chaum. Okay. So Dash also kind of falls into the privacy coin niche a little bit. Yeah.
Not like Monero.
Not like Monero.
No,
which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, there are two other coins that I've put into this bracket. And these ones, I think, could be a little controversial. I think people could disagree with me on this. And if you do, then please...
Suck eggs.
Yeah. Well...
Okay.
If you do, don't you dare. No, if you do, please let me know. So I would say that two other coins in this niche would be Ripple's XRP and Stella's XLM. Now, both Ripple and Stella, and remember these are the projects themselves, not the coins.
Yep.
But both Ripple and Stella are designed to be payment networks. So they make it easy for individuals and mostly really institutions.
I enjoyed your video on these guys at Davos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting, wasn't it? That was it. And actually, like companies like Ripple, you know, they are sort of very corporate focused.
Yeah.
So they do have very good connections with the elite, with the
WEF.
global elite, with the WEF. Yeah. I think it makes the World Economic Forum sound less scary if you call it the WEF.
I don't know.
If you called it the WEF, it would sound a bit. You know, it sounded a bit like...
The WEFwaffer.
The WEFwaffer. The WEFerum. So yeah, Ripple and Stella, they're kind of corporate focused really, but they basically make it easy for institutions to transfer value across borders, so you can bypass things like foreign exchange costs and things like that. So their networks are payment networks. Now, I would argue that this means XRP and XLM, which are the native coins of these networks, function as a form of payment coin, albeit in a slightly different way to the likes of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, etc. Because I would say that they facilitate the exchange of value between two parties. And that, to me...
Is payment.
Is a payment, yeah. Now, plenty of people would disagree with me on this because this is crypto after all, isn't it? They would say, I think, one of their arguments would be that XRP and XLM are kind of bridge currencies. They just facilitate payments. They're not payment coins per se. And they would definitely have a point in that respect. And there's also the argument that Ripple and Stella are kind of actually rivals to the likes of Ethereum in a way. They're networks, but whereas Ethereum is designed for smart contracts, Ripple and Stella are designed for payments. So they're not sort of payment cryptocurrencies per se. Now, again, I think this argument, I think that argument definitely holds water. But I think for the sake of categorization, I'm going to put XRP and XLM in the payment cryptocurrencies bracket because I think they can fulfill that function, albeit in a slightly more nuanced way to the likes of Dash and Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah.
So, smart contract cryptocurrencies, the next big category of cryptocurrency coin. Now, this is a pretty big niche and it includes a lot of the biggest cryptocurrencies out there. And We're familiar with smart contract blockchains because we have, after all, had 4 episodes about Ethereum now. So we're not familiar with those who haven't been paying attention. So we know that these act as platforms on which to build decentralized applications, or dApps. So the native coins of these platforms are used to pay network fees, i.e. to pay miners, or more commonly now validators, for processing transactions on the network. So they're a kind of, I guess, a kind of internal currency for the particular smart contract network we're talking about. And there's a fairly long list of coins represented here, and they're some of the most well-known, some of the biggest ones out there. So we've got the likes of Ethereum's ETH, obviously, that's the most notable. There's Cardano's ADA, there's Solana's Sol, there's Tron's TRX, there's Avalanche's AVAX, there's Algorand's Algo, Near Protocol's Near, Elrond's eGold, Hedera's HBAR, Phantom's FTM, Harmony's One, etc., etc., etc. There are loads of smart contract cryptocurrencies, and especially they're very well represented in the top 100 cryptos by market cap as well. These are some of the biggest crypto projects out there. Now, I'm also going to add another little subset to this category, and that in order to accommodate 2 other big projects, and these are Polkadot and Cosmos. And you'll see Cosmos is now called Cosmos Hub, but everyone calls it Cosmos. And they're native coins, which are DOT and Atom, respectively. Now, Polkadot and Cosmos are similar to the smart contract platforms we mentioned above, but they work in a slightly different way. And I'm not going to get too deep into that here. But they're essentially interoperability platforms that...
Say that again. Interoperability.
Interoperability. They're interoperability platforms that connect other blockchains together. So you don't kind of build on top of them. You build blockchains that then sort of plug into them.
Okay.
And hence the name sort of Cosmos Hub. It kind of acts as a central sort of hub.
The spine.
Yeah, like the hub of a wheel, and then you think of all these other blockchains
spokes going into.
Yeah, exactly. And they're sometimes referred to, rather than layer ones, which are what we call all those other ones, the likes of Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, etc. Those are layer ones. Polkadot and Cosmos, a lot of people think of them more as layer zeros that you then can build layer ones on top of.
It's the framework.
Yeah. So you can, I think, for the sake of categorization, you can include DOT and Atom in the smart contract coin bucket, but it is important to draw that distinction.
Just to be clear, have you categorized these, or is there some sort of general consensus around all of these?
That's a good question. There is a lot of general consensus. One of the reasons I wanted to do this episode is because I feel that it can be a little fuzzy sometimes.
No, I think it's great because it's sometimes you hear a lot of these coins or tokens and you have no idea what they're about.
Yeah.
And you need to just be able to go, okay, cool. I vaguely know that is something, and this is what the project is about.
Yeah.
And this is great to sort of go, okay, cool. I now know these are the main types of things. There's some with grey areas, but it's good. It's really it enables you to sort of it really enables you to sort of just have a bigger macro view of a lot of the brands out there.
Yeah. I think if you're looking at a coin or a token for the first time, probably the best thing that you can do is to first of all think, okay, what category?
What does it do?
Yeah, what does it do? What is its use case?
Yeah.
Because once you've established that, then you know certain things.
You've done a bit of research.
You've done a little bit of research, and then you can ape into your heart's desire. No, you can't. But yeah, I think it's the first step to understanding what this thing is that you're looking at, or possibly considering.
And naturally, there's going to be maybe some more categories that come up.
Yeah,
in the future.
Yeah, if you go onto something like CoinGecko, there is a categories tab. There can be quite a lot of overlap between them. Often they're categorized via the ecosystem, often by the layer one that they run on, and all that sort of stuff.
And it can be quite techy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I felt that this would be useful just to try and find, if possible, some quite big categories that we can fit a lot into. And then, obviously, there's going to be nuance between every single project. Okay, so the next category of cryptocurrency coins is privacy coins.
Yeah.
And again, we've touched on these before, and especially Monero, which is obviously Monero, which is obviously the big one. Now, as if it wasn't obvious, these are coins which preserve user privacy. That is what they are designed to do. So remember that most cryptocurrency transactions aren't as private as many people think. This is a common misconception. Again, something we've talked about before. Most of them can be easily tracked using a blockchain explorer. So, for instance, if I send some Bitcoin to you, if I send you some BTC, then that transaction will show up on chain. Now, I might be sending that from a wallet that doesn't have my name attached to it, so you can't necessarily see who is sending what to whom, but you can track, you can watch those transactions happen. And even if you don't have your real identity attached to your wallet, it can be still linked to you with a bit of detective work. So if you've used a service, for instance, like a cryptocurrency exchange that has some of your personal details, you can be traced when that wallet interacts with that service. Now, this is how a lot of ne'er-do-wells, if you like, have been caught out. You'll get someone demanding a ransomware attack or something like that, demanding payment in Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin is sent to their Bitcoin address. They then got some Bitcoin sitting there. They want to cash out into fiat, say into dollars perhaps. They get caught when they're doing that because they have to interact with an exchange which requires KYC, know your customer, all that sort of stuff. So they're often caught out like that. And what you often get is, especially in the last few months, we've had a lot of hacks in DeFi, in decentralized finance. We've had a lot of DeFi protocols getting hacked. And in some cases, like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of crypto being stolen. And what happens is that crypto then kind of sits there in these wallets that everyone can see, in the attacker's wallet. And the attacker is sort of like, right, I've now got all this crypto. The problem is it can all be traced. So if I try and spend...
It's kind of like when a paint squib goes off in an armored vehicle heist. You've got this neon pink cash that you can't really use.
It's still sort of legal tender, but everyone's sort of like...
But it's kind of like, I don't want to take this.
That's exactly right. And so you have these kind of you have this kind of tainted crypto, and it becomes very, very difficult to get, and of course impossible for them to cash out. So obviously, privacy coins have sprung up to not to fulfill the purpose of making bad people's lives easier, but privacy coins, were invented so as people could transact privately. And as I've said before, like being able to transact privately, I think is really, really important because it's not a case of, oh, well, if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to hide. It's, your transactions, what you spend your money on.
It's a very personal thing.
Exactly, yeah. It's a very personal, very revealing thing. And I wouldn't want anyone looking at my bank statements, for instance, even though I've got nothing to hide. My bank statements tell a story about me, which I think should be private. Even from the grounds of traceability, I suppose. If you can see that I bought my lunch in Pret a Manger on this particular day, it's sensitive information. So these privacy coins,
who you donate your money to, is not really anyone's business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I want to donate to this charity or this political party or this drug dealer.
Yeah. So some people may take issue with it. So privacy coins are, they're a big deal, and they use various different techniques, various very, very clever and advanced tech.
What are the main use for it? I mean, obviously there is the big one, which we kind of touched on, which is sex workers and stuff like that. What else? Maybe this is just an indication on my mind, but I can't think of anything else. What are the other? Maybe donating to political parties or charities or.
I think that's a big one. Yeah, I think. It's really, I think, a privacy coin. Using a privacy coin has, has as many different possible uses as there are different types of transaction. Let's face it, some people will be using it for illegal stuff.
Yeah.
Some people may use it to buy, I don't know, medical marijuana online or
Yeah.
something like that, or non-medical marijuana online. There are a lot of different uses for privacy coins, but I think it's unique to the user. You may just feel that you don't want someone to have oversight of your financial transactions.
Yeah,
and I think that's entirely fair enough. So, yeah, as we said, Monero's XMR is the biggest privacy coin by market cap. It's also the most well-known. It's got some seriously impressive tech, which I won't even try and go into here. I think we'll do a standalone episode on
Monero.
Privacy coins and Monero at some point. Zcash's ZEC is the next biggest by market cap. Now, both Zcash and Monero focus on making payments private by obscuring certain details of these payments. So it's impossible to track them on chain. There are other sorts of privacy focused cryptocurrencies that work in slightly different ways, and most of them aren't technically coins. So again, this is something we'll look at when we cover privacy focused projects, if you like, in more detail. And it's also, again, as I mentioned earlier, worth pointing out that Dash also has some privacy features. That was one of its attractions for a lot of people. And actually, more recently, Litecoin implemented some privacy features too. It had an upgrade called Mimblewimble.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying.
Yeah, Harry Potter thing. And so they can, both Litecoin and Dash can be said to have a foot in the privacy bucket, but these privacy features that they got are very much opt-in. So there are things you can do to make your transactions more private with Dash and LTC, but they're not true privacy coins like Monero and Zcash and others.
The equivalent of hiding the keypad while you're removing money.
That's what has been made possible.
It's a brown envelope.
They're brown envelope coins. Yeah. First category we are going to talk about here is storage coins. Okay.
Storage coins.
Storage coins. Now, this is a category. Well, I haven't made it up, but I've sort of put it together for the purposes of this episode, because I think what the territory we're kind of straying into now is very much like, tokens are going to be sort of more represented in the categories that we're going to start talking about.
Okay.
But there are still a few interesting projects that are coins, and a few of them fall into this bracket, basically storage cryptocurrencies. And this is a sector which is growing in popularity. And these are projects which basically aim to store data in a decentralized manner. So it's not like...
I was really struggling. I was like... storage of... I don't know. We've done the values, so it's not that. Storage, like you pay for storage?
Like a shipping container?
Yeah.
Shipping container coin?
Yeah.
Container coin? No, this is data storage. Decentralized data storage. And this data can obviously be anything. It can be people's personal files. It can be company data, which is obviously quite sensitive.
I mean, I suppose, like, how valuable data is.
Yeah.
This makes complete sense.
Yeah. This data can also be blockchain records themselves, because you'll remember from when we talked about blockchain.
That's some inception.
Wait a minute, you're storing blockchain data
on the blockchain.
On a blockchain? Christopher Nolan, take note. So blockchain. When we talked about blockchain, you remember, as each block contains transactional data, and as the blockchain goes along, more and more data is stored and is created and then stored. And for validators on a blockchain network, for those participating in the network, they have to store a copy of this record so as they can refer back to it to make sure transactions are valid. Now, that can, over time, amount to quite a lot of data. So some blockchain projects, which we'll talk about in a minute or so, actually need quite a lot of data storage. Anyhow, we'll come back to that. So decentralized data storage is a really useful resource, because we know that centralized data is very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Manipulation, theft, corruption, whatever it is. Now, here's an interesting example which I found, which I remember hearing about, and then I rediscovered when I was researching a particular storage project. In early 2020, the US National Archives were discovered altering. They were basically caught in the act of altering an image from 2017. And what they were doing, some photos had been taken of the Women's March that took place, I think it was Washington, D.C. in 2017. And what they were doing, that there were placards on this Women's March. It was inspired by Trump getting into the White House.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of these marchers were holding up placards which were saying sort of things about Trump. Trump is this, Trump is that, down with Trump, etc. I don't think it was being done from a political angle, but basically staff from the US National Archives were found to be blurring out parts of the photos, the placard parts of the photos. So it would say down with, and then the name Trump was blurred out. And I think they were doing this. I think their justification was that they didn't want it to be political. It wasn't. It was a photo from this time. They didn't want because I guess
historical thing.
Well, yeah, exactly. This is the point that was made in opposition to it, and which they later conceded. It's like, yeah, but this is a historical moment. It doesn't matter. Okay, Trump is a very divisive figure, and I guess they were maybe trying to sort of steer clear of that kind of side of it. But yeah, I mean, this is what happened, and that's what those placards said. So you can't alter them. You can't alter history. But this alteration of history is something that's been done a lot, and actually the Soviets.
Well, they say that the winners write history, don't they?
Yeah, history is written by the victors. But the Soviets were particularly good at this. The Russians, they used to alter images a lot to remove people who'd fallen from favor. So if so and so had displeased Stalin and basically met his end in a cellar.
Yeah, I think North Korea do that as well, don't they?
Yeah, I think almost certainly. And there are these photos in existence whereby they basically just take someone out of it. There are these amazing photos, and you'll see Stalin and then some dude next to him, and then you'll see a later photo which was published, and this dude is just gone.
Yeah,
and it's basically written out of history. And there's a great quote from 1984 by George Orwell. It says, "Who controls the past controls the future." And this goes back to what we were talking about blockchain in general. The fact that there is no single point of failure. There is no way that you can go to one particular place and corrupt the network from there. That's one of blockchain's great strengths.
Yeah.
So this idea of being able to store data in a decentralized manner, so you have a record of the truth.
Information, like what's the when they have the Freedom of Information Act, when you can just request that data, but so it is there,
and you can be confident that the data you're getting is
redacted.
Yeah, it has not been tampered with or altered, and it's really it's more important than ever. We produce so much data.
What are some of the big players in that?
Okay, so there are a few storage cryptocurrencies. We've got the likes of Filecoin and Seacoin, which are both been around for a few years now. The latest example, and the one that I was talking about that when I was researching and found this business with the US Archives, Arweave, and its coin AR. Is a sort of newer project. Now these are all crypto coins. They all exist on their own blockchain, and they all do this thing of decentralized data storage. And Arweave, in fact, is used to store all the blockchain data for Solana. Now, Solana, I don't know if we've really talked about Solana much. Solana is another layer 1 cryptocurrency, a smart contract crypto. It's most well known as the fastest blockchain out there. It's a very
fastest blockchain in the West.
It can process sort of thousands and thousands of transactions per second. And the downside of this is that it produces a lot of data. And what you want when when you have a cryptocurrency, you want as many different validators to be able to store that data as possible. So if you're creating a lot of data, it becomes very, very difficult to store, and that can harm the decentralization of your project. So basically, a backup of all Solana's data is kept by Arweave.
And is that its main function, or is that just one of the functions for it?
For Arweave itself, I mean, you can look at it as Solana is one of Arweave's biggest clients, if you like. But I mean, Arweave, is in the data storage business in general. And actually, I've been using it a lot too. And also, Dan, one of our researchers at the Coin Bureau, he was showing me how he was doing it too. Like, we've started storing stuff. When we see an interesting article, we just store it, take it straight across into Arweave. And then we can be confident that it's been stored and not tampered with. And actually, what a lot of people were doing when Russia invaded Ukraine back in February, they've started uploading loads of stories, loads of video, photos, other media and stuff. They've started uploading it to Arweave, so as you've got this indisputable record of what happens, and that is going to be so valuable when the time comes, when the trials come, and when someone sits down to write the history.
Because as I was saying, like, I was using it in the sort of the blasé. Oh well, this celebrity in the UK said something that might be construed as a little bit offensive.
Yeah.
And that's really in the grand scheme of things not that big a deal. When you're talking about potential war crimes, that's when you need to have it be unrefutable.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happened, this is where it happened, and you can't edit this because it's on Arweave.
Here is actual evidence that can't be deleted, or it can't be tampered with, or anything like that. So it's really important. And I think as more and more stuff gets digitized, as we live more and more of our lives online, storing it safely is
propaganda proof information almost, because you get so many conflicting stories about videos that you see, like, okay, well, this was actually from 10 years ago, and it's not actually what is being said in this article, or in this tweet, or in this whatever. Like the white hats is something that I don't know if you've seen this. There's a group called the White Hats, and there's arguments whether they're good or bad or whatever, and it's so confusing for someone who just wants to try and find out the truth. That's amazing.
I think it's going to be a real growth area of cryptocurrency. I should say that I actually hold Arweave as I hold AR, the coin, as part of my personal portfolio. So it's important that people know that I'm not just shilling I'm not just shilling the project. It's Arweave is.
Is that going to be really useful to journalism?
And a record that you can absolutely trust, that hasn't been tampered with. It's really, really important. As I say, there's Arweave. There's also Filecoin and Seacoin and stuff like that. There are a few more storage cryptocurrencies, but they're more tokens as well. And as I say, we're just kind of focusing on coins here at the moment. So that's storage cryptocurrencies. There is one I want to kind of sort of wrap it up now, rather than look at any other sort of category itself. Coins and tokens are starting to blur a bit together now. We're at the point where the categories start to be mainly filled by tokens rather than coins, is what I mean. So again, we'll look at the massive sort of token ecosystem in the next episode. I just want to point out a couple of kind of outlying coins, though, that do fit into their own particular categories, but those categories are more filled with tokens. Make sense?
Yeah.
So the one I want to point out that most people might notice, especially if they take a quick look at the top cryptos by market cap, is Binance Coin, with the ticker BNB. Now, this is the native coin of the Binance ecosystem, and Binance is most well known as the biggest crypto exchange out there. And Binance itself is the 5th largest crypto by market cap, and it is used primarily to pay exchange trading fees on the Binance exchange. Now, interestingly, BNB actually began life as a token on Ethereum, but it was later migrated over to the Binance chain in 2019. So it is now officially a coin. It lives on its own blockchain.
I didn't know you could do that. Just go, okay, cool. We'll start off here, and then we'll jump to... how do you set up?
I've no idea.
A lot of questions, but not for.
How do you do that?
How do you do that?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
How do you decentralize that? And
Yeah, I can't imagine it was something done quickly. But yeah, Binance has recently, in the past few years, it has built the Binance chain. And it's, Binance is more than just a crypto exchange. It now has its own chain, a bit like Ethereum that you can build. You can build projects on top of, issue tokens on top of. But BNB is its native coin. And it's the same way that ETH is the native coin of Ethereum. And BNB, it does have use cases beyond actual, beyond paying exchange fees. And actually, Binance employees can apparently be paid in BNB. And I think quite a few of them did quite well when BNB really pumped a few years ago.
You down with BNB? You know me.
Quite. Binance Coin falls into the category of exchange coins, but it's most exchange coins are actually tokens. Most exchange cryptocurrencies are tokens. So that is a category we'll look at in more detail next episode. And I also want to finally mention our good old friend Dogecoin.
Yeah.
And Dogecoin is, in fact, a coin. We've met it before. We know what it's all about. It's famous for being the first meme coin, obviously. But again, most meme coins are now tokens, though, because primarily tokens are easier to create. Yeah. It's
But Doge is actually its own coin.
Yeah. So
I feel I've been doing Doge a disservice because I thought it was just a...
I'm sure many people, actually, many in the Dogecoin community would support you on that one, and say that actually that kind of, it elevates it to something more than a meme.
Yeah,
This is what a lot of Doge people will say. It's like, no, it's actually a coin. It's not just some token that someone's rustled up overnight.
No.
It is a genuine, it is a genuine ecosystem, if you like. There is more to Dogecoin than meets the eye. I've done a couple of videos on Dogecoin and kind of comparing it with Shiba Inu, which is its sort of nearest competitor. And I mean, neither of them are cryptocurrencies that I'd buy. And Shiba Inu is obviously is a token. But there is, I will say that there is actually more to them than just, it's not just a coin.
There's a lot of work to set up a coin.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work to just do it for a lol.
Yeah, it is a lot of work for a lol. Yeah.
But then that's the internet.
The internet is just full of people
with too much time on.
Yes, who really should go and get a proper job. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this episode. So I think we've covered cryptocurrency coins there. So next week will be a kind of deeper dive into the wonderful world of cryptocurrency tokens. So, I hope that's been useful.
I thought it was great.
Excellent. Well,
I'm gonna really look up the coin that I've already forgotten the name of.
Cool story, bro.
What was it called? AR.
Arweave. Yeah. Have a look into it. Yeah, really, really interesting project. And other storage cryptocurrencies are available, of course. Anyway, folks, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. And I hope you can join us next time for the cryptocurrency tokens, the different categories of.
See you next week.
See you then.